Before we begin, I would really appreciate it if you could sign the petition linked in the pinned comment, and if you're able, also donate to any of the Serbian hospitals in crisis now. All AdSense from this video will go towards helping people in Novi Pazar, Sjenica, etc. Season 12 of Drag Race was plagued with loads of favoritism towards many queens, all for very different reasons. The fans were able to figure it out while it was all happening, especially when it comes to Sherry Pie, somebody who was discussed on this channel 2 weeks ago. The reason why people were so easy to point out the clear favoritism she received is, well, because she's not a good person, plain and simple. Because of this, let's imagine that Drag Race actually did proper background check on the cast of season 12 and never even cast Sherry on the show. There are certain rules that we need to follow. Firstly, the amount of episodes is proportional to the amount of queens, which is why here and now we have 11 competitive episodes instead of 12. With this in mind, we know that one challenge will have to be nixed. Next, each season has to have an acting or improv challenge, judged in groups, and then another one judged individually. There needs to be a rusical, a makeover challenge, a ball challenge, snatch game, and the final 5 challenge. There has to be a double shantay affecting Jackie in the makeover episode. And lastly, the favoritism of other queens here will still be present because, and again, we're looking at season 12 had it not had Sherry as part of the cast. Here's the cast of season 12. Let's remove the Predator so that we can begin. We immediately encounter the problem of the 2 premiere episodes and the fact that the first one had 7 queens in it, whereas the second 6, with Sherry being one of them, but now only 5. We have to take one queen from the first group and have her replace Sherry so that there is an even split. Looking at what each episode's main challenge asked of the queens, it seemed that they split the groups into the first one that would do better performing a dance hip-hop song, and the ones that would do better performing a Bob Fosse-esque number. Sherry, of course, was put into the second group. So we have to ask ourselves, who from the first group is the campiest, the most fake animated like Sherry? We really didn't look further than her New York sisters, Britta, Jackie, and somewhat Nikki, I guess. Nikki Doll is a clear no-no, and with Jackie being a queen like Sherry that loves anything gold, I think she would have replaced her perfectly well. In this scenario, in the first premiere, the cast includes Britta, Crystal Method, Gigi Good, Heidi and Closet, Nikki Doll, and Widow Von Du. In the first premiere episode, the results are the same. Jackie's exclusion does not change the fact that Widow wins, Gigi's high as the loser of the lip sync, and the rest of the girls are safe. Remember, with there being no eliminations by design, there can't be low placements. The second group of girls consists of Aiden Zane, Dahlia Sin, Jackie Cox, Jade Essence Hall, Jan, and Rock'em Sakura. When it comes to the second group of girls, we know that in the pecking order, Jan somewhat came in third. So I believe that in this scenario, she, alongside Jada, is in the top 2, but she does lose the lip sync to Jada. I don't think that Jackie could have done it better than Jan, and also, and this is just my opinion, Jan should have been the top 2 with or without Sherry being there. However, Jan does still receive the critique of maybe being a little bit too much. The third episode, World's Worst, had the first very clear instance of previously established Drag Race tropes being changed to benefit Sherry. Now, that's not gonna happen. This episode started off with Widow and Jada, the 2 winners from the premieres, ranking the other group of girls. Kind of like how Vivian did it on the second episode of the first season of Drag Race UK. Widow placed Aiden last and Jada Heidi. These 4 queens were the team captains for the improv challenge. Originally, Aiden picked first, Heidi second, Widow third, and Jada last. Based on their original choices, this is how I believe the teams would have been picked. Aiden went for the loser of the top 2 lip sync from her team, Sherry, so now her first pick is Jan. Heidi's team consisted of essentially her friends from the first group, and with us knowing that she picked Gigi second originally, and Gigi having been in the top 2 in the first episode, I say that she'd be Heidi's first pick. Widow said that she wanted to have a diverse group, and her first pick was Nikki Doll, so she gets Nikki again. Jada's original first pick was Jan, so someone who did well from her group but was not top 2, which in this scenario is Jackie. Aiden gets the same second choice of Britta as she originally did. The only queen from the first 6 that has not been picked yet is Crystal, so she gets to be a part of Heidi's team. Widow has to pick between Rock'em Sakura and Dahlia Sin, and with her wanting a diverse group and having the pretty fashion queen in Nikki, Widow would probably pass on Dahlia and pick Rock'em. This means that Jada is left with Dahlia, but regardless, Jada originally wanted Dahlia on her team over Rock'em, so everyone gets what they want. Assuming that the sketches are the same, meaning that Heidi's team does the 3 old ladies, Aiden's team does Gart and Cat, Widow's team are all Girl Scouts, and Jada's team are those fruit thingies, this is how I believe they would have done. Heidi again carries her team to the victory, where Crystal plays the old lady very well, giving her a shaky, high-pitched voice, awkwardness, and quirkiness. Aiden's team is really all the same, with Jan maybe just trying to stand out a little too much. Widow's team works a little better this time, given that they have Rock'em throwing puns, though Nikki does struggle a little. Jada's team, now with a slightly different sketch of them pretending to be gay but actually being straight men in drag in fruit costumes, is a little too confusing and all over the place. On the runway, first, Aiden's and Widow's team are all declared safe, because, remember, the first acting challenge in Drag Race is usually judged in teams, except when somebody who did well in the first episode is at risk of being in the bottom 2 or eliminated, such as in season 7, 8, and 11. Due to this, Heidi's team wins and Heidi is declared as the winner, with her teammates being high. That means that Jada's team is low. Even though she was team captain, I don't think Jada would have been in the bottom 2 with Dahlia, mostly because of Jackie's horrid runway look. So yeah, Jackie beats Dahlia in the bottom 2 lip sync. The 4th episode is still the ball episode. There was minimal favoritism of Sherry, in the sense that her looks did not fully necessarily fit what was asked of the girls to bring from home, but she was still just safe. So the final results won't be much different. Gigi wins both the mini and the maxi challenge. There are 2 high queens in Jada and Nikki, whereas the safe queens are Crystal, Heidi, Jackie, Jan, and Widow. Just like originally, Aiden is kept as low, with Britta beating Rock'em in the bottom 2 lip sync. 5th episode's Gay's Anatomy will have a change in result, given that Sherry originally won this challenge. Sherry's part of Mother is just not in the sketches now, given that it was just there for some throwaway gag lines and to make fun of Jan's Meredith. This also means that we don't get that little weird thing between Widow and the rest of the queens, with Widow seeing that the old lady role is a standout role and wanting it for herself. However, we still do get Gigi playing it smart and advising Nikki to take the role that speaks very little to get her out of the competition. Assuming that all the other roles are the same, here are the results. Originally, there were 5 high queens plus a winner. So now, because we have 1 less queen, we're doing 4 highs and a winner. Out of the original highs, looking at their runway looks and how well they did in the challenge, the win has to go to Jan. The 2 safe queens here are Jada and Crystal, with Britta being just low. The bottom 2 for this episode are Nikki and Heidi, with Nikki going home. 6th episode is Snatch Game. We know all of these queens' Snatch Game performances and characters, so the results will only slightly be altered. The distribution of queens originally was 3 high placements, 4 safe, and 3 low. In order to accommodate the current cast and the split of 2-4-3, one of the safe queens has to be bumped up to a high placement. Out of the original 4, those being Heidi, Jada, Jan, and Widow, Heidi really did the best in the Snatch Game, but also looked the best alongside Jan out of the 4. These are the results. Gigi wins again, and Heidi and Jackie are high. Jada, Jan, and Widow are safe, whereas Crystal is low. This means that Aiden is out of the competition. The 7th episode brings us another mandatory challenge. Madonna the Musical. The flow of the song really wouldn't change at all if we just took out Sherry's role, especially given that it also served the least purpose in the whole thing. Again, the results are the same as originally, though now there are only 2 safe queens instead of 3. The 8th episode is where we have to make a choice. Do we drop the Droop Challenge or the Choices 2020 Challenge? I opted for dropping the Droop Challenge just because well, the political debate challenge is also a staple of Drag Race in the seasons of the years where there is an election in the US. Plus, this whole season's theme is voting and being political, another thing to remember for later. So, Choices 2020 it is. Jan originally did not get to do this challenge, but it's not much different than the Droop challenge. And I would argue it being even harder because you have to be quick, witty, and be able to respond to things on the spot. Jan did poorly in the Droop challenge, and throughout the competition had the same problem as Jackie did during the Choices 2020 challenge. That being her not listening to the judges' critiques, repeating her mistakes even when the judges point them out to her. Jada wins this challenge with Crystal and Heidi being high. Now, you might be like, but Crystal's mulleting is also repetitive. Shouldn't she place lower? And you're very correct. She should. But not in this scenario. This may be the season of no favoritism towards Sherry, but it still is a season of favoritism of Gigi, Crystal, and Jackie. In order to have an equal amount of highs and lows, we have to put Gigi as safe. Now, this entire episode was Jackie's episode, with her winning the mini challenge, and from the get-go, it was clear that she'd be in the bottom two, winning the lip sync. With Jan still in the competition, I think she would have been in the bottom two with her, for the reasons mentioned previously, but mostly because we know how devastated Jan gets when the New York girls don't do well. So it would be extra emotional for the two queens, and extra Emmy-worthy for Rue. The makeover episode doesn't really bring much of anything. We'd probably get similar pairs of queens and fans, because Jada paired them up based on who seemed to go well together. However, with Widow still here, it is possible that Heidi's original partner could have gone to Widow. Trust me, it would have been much fairer this way. Widow would have probably brought 2 garments for big girls, because makeover challenges now really carry no significance in the clothes department, because everybody brings their stuff from home instead of making it fair across the board and having the queens create outfits on the spot. Jada still wins though, and because Sherry is not here, Crystal is high. Originally, Sherry got quantitatively more praise than Crystal, and with it being a top 6 episode, Crystal was safe, as that was the highest she could have been. And again, now she's high. I don't think Widow could have done better than her, but just middle of the road as a whole. Gigi gets critiqued for being boring, but evades the bottom 2 spot. Heidi beats Jackie in the lip sync, but there is a double shantay because we'll talk about it. The 10th episode is the stand-up episode. Widow is a funny queen. In Grey's Anatomy, she did really well. She was good and funny too in episodes 1 and 3, but she didn't do that well in the Droop episode. Again, I think she would have done well enough to be safe, but it wouldn't have been anything spectacular. But then again, nothing in this episode was spectacular, other than the bottom 2 lip sync, where Heidi sadly got the boot. The 11th episode is now the final episode. Originally, and thank you all for pointing this out, because I did not watch the original episode. Even though Sherry got the worst critiques, she was not in the bottom 2 because of her track record. I wanted to check this for myself, so I rewatched the critiques and made a table showing how many positive things and how many negative things were said to or about each person. And yeah, Sherry did get the worst critiques, and Jada got only positive critiques. And yet, Gigi won the challenge because her track record up to that point was the best. I mean, clearly, this was done to protect Sherry and give Gigi another boost towards the crown. So without Sherry here, we judge the girls based on how they actually did. And in Widow's case, how she would have done. As you can see from this table, Jada is first, Gigi second, Crystal third, and Jackie fourth. Now, where do we put Widow? Well, she is a good performer. Her runway looks weren't always the best, and after the second half of the season, she somewhat checked out of the competition. For this reason, she's gonna be in the bottom 2 with Jackie. But unlike with their original bottom 2 lip sync, the results of which were nonsensical, Widow picks up the win and sends Jackie packing. So, our top 4 now are Crystal Method, Gigi Good, Jada SS Hall, and Widow Von Du. Knowing that the lip syncs for the crown would have been done on Zoom or whatever, we know that the format would not have been the same, as in having 2 semi-final lip syncs and 1 final lip sync for the crown. However, for the sake of the argument, we will look at that possibility as well. So let's first do that. As we know, the final lip syncs winner is determined by who did better out of the two contestants on the show, with an almost immediate elimination if you've lip synced for your life more than once. These are the Queen's track records in this season. In 2 out of the 3 combinations, Jada wins the season, and Gigi only won. If we make this a little broader, imagining that, for example, Crystal could beat anybody in a lip sync, Jackie does not count, she was never going to be in the top 4 with her track record, I present to you this table. Here, as you can see, Gigi wins 3 times out of the possible 6, Jada twice, and Crystal once. So we could say that in these cases it's between Gigi and Jada, just like originally. However, as I've said twice already, Season 12 was a political season, and Gigi Good, an apolitical queen who shared stupid stuff like this on her story, on the season said that she was apolitical and overall showed her privilege while the season was airing, winning this season would not really be a good look for the show. So if we include this too, which I do think that we should, I don't think they would ever allow Gigi to win the season. This also has to do with the fact that she allegedly broke the rules in the actual finale by filming her lip syncs in a rented studio instead of at her home as the queens were instructed to do. There really isn't a definitive answer to this video, but basically it would have been either Jada or Gigi, with Jada being a better pick for the winner. Heidi still is the Miss Congeniality though. And that's it. That's the video. Thank you for watching.